Hey guys, so I'm gonna do one more. I can't seem to stop making these collages, so why stop, right? If I'm having fun, you guys get to learn from it, may as well keep going. So I've got another board here. This is just a pre-gessoed board that's really inexpensive, got it from Dick Blick. And I'm gonna go ahead and collage some paper on here and have an idea of what I wanna do. We'll see if I can get it to work right. Everything's an experiment, it seems, lately. So I'm okay with that. I love having this paper kind of ground to work on. Just gives me a beautiful background, some texture, and takes away from that pure stark white look that can sometimes be a little bit intimidating. So the idea for this piece is to do kind of a landscape where I use color to kind of move the eye back. And so I'm going to be layering these pieces on. And creating sort of a mountain range sort of thing going on. Like that. But what I want to do is I want to do it in layers. So, and then at the very top of the mountain range, I think I'm going to put a tree. Like this. So, I'm going to lay that out again, make sure I like how it looks. I'm going to stick my tree down because I'm going to be painting around it so it doesn't look like it's stuck on there. So I'm going to dry that and I'm going to put my first coat of paint on. So I think for this piece I'm going to do a gradation of these kind of turquoisey, tealy colors. So I want my farthest, I want this back one to be the lightest, and then I'll move up in value. So I'm going to go ahead and put out some paint. I might leave some of that paper to show through because it's so pretty. I'm just really roughly kind of dry brushing this on, no water at this point, obviously. And then just rub it on. Just kind of go in and try and paint in a little bit of the areas in between the branches. Take away from that collage look. Now the wax will further help everything blend together, but I can start by doing this too. And obviously I'm not going to paint in every single branch. That's that first layer, and then I've got to put this guy in there because he's the next one in line, right? That's where the tree is going to be standing up on. So let's get my, should probably dry this first. And get my matte medium out. And glue down my next layer. Now my next color, I'll move into this. I'm going to dry it. Now I think what I'm going to do with these next pieces is actually paint them first. So I think I'm actually going to paint these, and then I'm going to use them in the next layers of wax. You'll see what I'm talking about in just a minute. I'm going to get my deepest teal. And do a blend of the first teal and the second teal. Kind of get an in-between color. And I'm just going to dry brush that onto the paper here. And just like with this layer, I don't need the paint to be super opaque. Kind of like how the writing shows through. So that layer is going to go there. And then this bottom layer would be the deepest teal, right? And it's going to go there. And I've never done this kind of, this sort of collage before, where I kind of stagger it. So it'll be interesting to see how it works with the wax and all that good stuff. And that's what I love about wax. I think it's just so versatile, and it allows you to experiment, to really do some fun things. So you can see it'll be kind of this gradation of color. Okay. Alrighty, let's give it a go. I'll do my first coat of wax. Okay, I got my first layer on there. Look for any bald spots. Kind of dab in that wax where you need to. If you get those little pock marks, those little bubblies, usually if you refuse you can get them out, but they can actually look kind of cool. So don't, kind of consider it. Do you want some texture or not? So I need to give this a minute. I'm already liking how it looks. So now that the wax is just warm, but not too soft, I can press this paper right into the wax and it'll kind of stick. And that's what we're going for. Okay, you can use your finger and just kind of get it stuck on there. Don't worry too much about the sides if the sides hang off. Just make sure it's really good and stuck on. So that's good and stuck on. So I'm going to go ahead I'm gonna go this way this time and go right over the top, do my next layer. Bring my wax over a little bit. Okay, fuse. So now that piece of paper is part of that layer, which is really cool. You can see it's pushing this tree back. This is kind of a way to, you know, kind of have depth or add depth. And I know I've got some space down here, but maybe I'll do something with that. Make sure I'm straight here. Go ahead and start to push this one in. I'm going to stick these sides down a little bit with some wax. And then do another layer. So I'm liking how this looks. I think it looks really kind of atmospheric. Really kind of neat, actually. I really like it. And I think I want to do some white wax around the top here. I'm going to see how that goes. Warm up my white wax brush. Guys, I can see right here, I'm going to zoom in, that I have a hair that has gotten lodged into the wax. Just don't worry about it. Just pull it on out and just refuse that area and you're good. See? It's all better. So I kind of like how the white kind of looks almost cloud-like. So I may do some more of that. And then I'm going to carve into the different hillsides here and actually add some white into those lines. So my white brush is softened up quite a bit now, so I'm going to go ahead and add in some more white. And I'll fuse that and it'll soften the look of it. And it's really interesting to see kind of what the white does because you never quite know what it's going to do. And really, I think that's the key with encaustic work, is that you have to be kind of open to what might happen. And you have to be open. Sometimes you're gonna have to scrape back what you don't like. That's just part of the gig when you're working with encaustic. I'm gonna let that hang out for a minute, and I'm gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna carve into these hillsides here. So I'm just taking my stylus tool and I'm just outlining the hillside. I'm going to do that with each layer here. So I've got some white acrylic paint and my little blender brush. Got a wet wipe ready. And I'm going to go ahead and embed that line with white. Or all the lines, actually. You can do it a couple of times if you don't feel like your white is bright enough, or whatever color you're choosing to use. What color is that? And you can see by adding the white in this line, it's connecting it to the white in the sky. Baby wipes are almost too wet. Let me get my rag. Just going to keep going on these lines. You could also do this with an oil pastel or your gelato. So now I've got my white lines there. You can see that, right? It's kind of cool. Now I think I'm going to do one more coat of wax over the whole thing to kind of try and just take it all down a notch. Let's see how that goes. Careful not to fuse too long or I'll lose my white lines. I could always go back and get them again, but it's not my goal to lose them. You can see they started to move a little bit. I'm kind of okay with that though. I think it looks kind of neat. Now the white kind of got a little, whoops, a little shifted over here. Seems to want to blow over a little bit. I took it too far. I'm going to scrape some of this back. I think it got a little bit too heavy. And this is the thing with wax. Sometimes you have to just kind of regroup. It's really not a big deal. Looks like a big deal, but it's not. Just wax. Just part of the experimenting process. Not everything's going to work the way you think it's going to work. But something even better might come out of it. So I try and think like that. I'm going to fuse right where we are right now and see kind of where we're at. See what happens. Staying open. So here's what I like about this. Number one, there's like a lot of kind of interesting little spots here. So here you can see where the wax is resisting. And I think that's because I may have not cleaned it off enough after I did the wet wipe. So make sure that your wet wipe is, or make sure you kind of wipe it down with just a clean cloth to get rid of any of the residue from the wet wipe. I'm going to try and get that wax to stick. It's not wanting to. Let's try again. Okay, the other thing that I've discovered that I'm liking here is that I like how this side looks, where the white is more kind of just at the top rather than coming down so much. So I'm going to actually pull some of this white back and have it be more of just an accent on the top of the piece. Just fill in where I pulled all that back. Yeah, I do like that better actually. Just having that white on the top here instead of all the way down the sides. I think it just looks better. Kind of love how it's, you know, dripping down a little bit. That's kind of neat, actually. I may even force that a little bit by holding the piece up and heating. See, it's actually running by itself now. Very cool. This part here is still resisting wax. I'm going to reinforce these lines a little bit. This little piece has been put through the ringer, hasn't it? It's alright. I do have this idea of putting a feather here, almost as like it's buried under this hillside. I can decide if I want it to go that way. Yeah, I think this way. See if I can get it to stick down. The wax is pretty warm right now. Well, my fingers have gotten rather sticky from messing with the wax. So it's giving me a hard time getting it to lay down. Embed it into the wax, pushing down a little bit. Alright, I'm going to put a layer of wax over that. Now that feather has become part of the landscape here, which is pretty cool. I like that a lot, actually. See, sometimes it's just a matter of sticking with it and just kind of seeing it through.